Ink drawing on hot pressed paper. That's the easy part. A little bit complicated is then when you want to get an even shading or coloring with watercolor or maybe with diluted ink, but we will try this. And so I use fountain pens for this. Here I have an extra fine middle-sized nib, and this is a bold nib. I have my pocket brush, pentel pocket brush. These very nice dip, and they are filled with this pentel cartridges, but in this pocket brushes I have the same ink like in my fountain pen, and that's this time it's the carbon ink by Platinum. But you can also use, or I used sketch ink from Rohrer, Write and Draw ink from Octopus. They are all made for using in fountain pen, and they don't clunk so far, and so never use such a normal Indian ink, so waterproof Indian ink or any other pigmented ink. So this is not made special for fountain pens, because you will clunk it and destroy it in the worst case. I also maybe use a little bit a tip pen, and so we start with the drawing with a big sign. Let's go up. So our world is full of signs and billboards which are telling you what to do and what not to do, what to buy and what not to buy, and so on. So this is why I'm always, not always, in the last weeks, I love to do these signs here in the corner. So maybe there is prohibited area for this what's behind, but let's see how it turns out. If you see, I get all these edges a little bit more ink, and then I do very fast strokes and lines. Then for some shadow parts I use this brush pen. As well at this shaded part. So the light source is coming from the upper right here. So then we can do a little bit of hatching here. And then I think here I have some inspiration. Little drawings on little cards, often are the backside of some older drawings that I don't like anymore. Oh, what's there? Okay. So let's say, okay. We can do, yeah, here we draw a tree. And a little, so not a normal straight trunk, so a little bit more an angled trunk. So one important point, a trunk is always thicker near the button, and then when it gets higher it goes thinner and thinner, like the branches. When you do it in the opposite way, it looks a little bit weird. Then okay, let's say here another branch, and so, and then we start with the leaves in the ground. This goes down here. These are just irregularly uneven, convex, concave lines. Don't repeat the same structure, so really do some variations. Then we can also divide this here for hatching. Before we start with the shading with diluted ink or watercolor, let's see what we use. And then, and so this is here, and as well here we have that. What's more in the background, and here as well. So for line work, for ink drawing, this hot press paper is really, it's not that slippery, I would say, not that smooth like Bristol paper, but it's of course made for using it with watercolor. And then here, when the light's coming from here, the right upper side, then maybe, or not maybe, I will do this in this way, then the tree, there falls the shadow on this sign. And so we also, here we will use then the shading of the watercolor, but at the first step I do always as a hatching. Not a cross hatching, that would be too much. And of course, for trees, for these crowns of a tree, there we will do some, how I call it, splashes, sparkles, some more dynamic parts. Let's say we do it in this way, so this way. You can do this with very flexible nibs, because you have to bend them in the wrong direction and then lift it up, and then it flips forward. And after this action, you have to let this sparkles, splashes absolutely dry, because if not, then you smudge it and it doesn't look good. Even when you say, no, I wanted this effect. No, nobody wants this effect, I guess, maybe. Okay, always clean the nib, because when the ink dries in, you are not able to put the nib of the holder. Maybe we need this later on. And so then I add some ink brush strokes here with darker background parts, so that we get a nice contrast. And then we need some structure in the trunk. At the trunk we also need some nice deeper parts. And I all do this while I'm still working on the line work, so I don't finish the line work and then start with the first shading or then the... No, I want to get a feeling in which direction we go with this drawing, and so that we have a nice balance between light and shadow, and therefore I do this. So drawing a little bit, shading it with absolutely black ink, and then a little bit hatching, and so this drawing grows up. Some nice fences in the background. So this is a very, let's say, portrait, but a very high portrait aspect ratio. And so this is a good practice to think about a situation, a scene that fits in this unusual ratio, aspect ratio. And so I have to think in the background of some hills or something like that. And if I don't mention it, this is a scene. So mostly I do my drawings from imagination, some details from remembering real situations, but the whole scene is without reference, because it's much more fun to create one's own world. I have to think about my younger years. So I didn't grow up in a village, I grew up in the, let's say, suburban. So not directly, it was Vienna, but on the suburbs of Vienna. And so they were not a fantastic city, and also not this nice, cozy forests and nature and landscape, like it would be in a village. Now I'm living the last 15, 16 years here in this area, and this is surrounded by vineyards and really, so let's say, the village life you expect with cows, farmer houses and so on. So let's do here something like not a farmhouse, maybe it's a so okay, the house is behind the tree is behind the sign, and that's a very important point, that because this is two-dimensional, obviously, and so we want to get depth in a drawing, and so then I have the sign, and I don't never put the tree so side by side, because then you don't know which maybe is in the foreground, which is in the background. And so I'm always a fan of overlapping the objects. So this sign is overlapping the tree is overlapping the house. And this is why we do here more, so that it's everybody can see it, that the house then is more in the background. And so we start here with the part of the roof. And let's say this is a little bit, the roof is going up. Then here we have the gutter, so where the rain water is gliding down here. And then we have here this common window under the roof, these small little windows, they're always there in my area. And then in the living rooms there are these, of course, bigger windows. Let's say this building has 2 floors. And then as well half a window. And then here we have a little roof, so for the entrance in this house, a special part. There are some wooden blankets, and because this is a maybe this is a restaurant, we have a sign as well here. So the golden lion or the black raven, how it's called, so like a English pub restaurant, something like this. Here we have a small window. More a shadow here. But of course the other shadows, the parts will do. Then with ink or watercolor. Mysterious black windows. Now let's do it. So, and that's how the drawing is building up. Maybe there's another small building in the background. And another, of course, much smaller tree. Yeah, the train station. The rain is coming. And then, of course, we need something in the foreground. Let's say a bush is here in the foreground. Yeah, and then we need something. Yeah, we can leave this white, so negative space. Yeah, let's leave this white. And now I'm waiting till this is absolutely dry. What I don't do, or I should not do, is heating with an hair dryer, because when there is a little dot with ink on it, then you spread it away. And that, so like in our childhood, we made this was a drop of ink, and then you blow, and then it's like the branches of a tree. You can remember, I'm sure, or you hopefully know what I mean. Let's do some more shadows here, this part, so that it goes more life in it. And then when it's absolutely dry, we can do the shading. It's really concentrated on darker parts and really bright, shiny parts, so that it don't get muddy. So now everything is completely dry, and we start with shading. So light and shadows. Here I use this black watercolor. And let's start with the middle gray. And let's say here is this ground. And then we need, let's do this here, a very brighter gray, because I want to use this here. Then I so kind of lift up a little bit of the color, so that it's really just a nice. So you can imagine that this is a white sign, because then we have to add the shadow from that tree, from the crown of the tree. As well in the foreground, a darker leaves and a bush here. And here the part of the roof. Also relatively dark. The shadow underneath here, the frame of the windows, as well here. Let's say here in the background we can add the shadow to the whole part. And the gutter. And the sign, we keep this bright and shiny. A little bit darker, this tree in the background. So you see with watercolor, even it's a hot press paper with no texture, you can receive this nice, a little bit more dark, this nice and even surface, and so no unwanted edges. Yep. So when you're fast enough, you can lift up the paint. And then a little bit more darker, so more black paint. Maybe that's too much. Let's start with this one. We do the angle a little bit this paper pad so that the paint is floating in one direction. So clear water. And therefore we need a bigger brush, so don't forget to use as well bigger brushes for bigger areas. So that's nice. Then I use the dry brush back. And we need more contrast, so therefore I go in with more paint. And I think then we do more structure with ink drawing in this tree, maybe. Let's see when we are finished, or nearly finished. Here a shadow on the trunk as well. And then the shadow falling down from the trunk. And then, but not that dark, shadow here in the house wall. I don't want this edge here. So, and now we can add some more black parts here and there. Not too loose, a little bit more precise, please. Then parts of this blade design here. here on this wall of the house, inside the windows. What I forgot is another row of windows here. I will add this in a second. Oh, I think that's nice. That's quite good. Okay, yes, I'm relatively happy with it. So it's not that expressive like some other of my drawings. But we will leave this now to dry again. So, as I mentioned before, it's not that expressive, but let's do it more messy, maybe. So first of all, we need here a contrast to separate this tree in the background from these parts of the building. Otherwise it looks a little bit confusing. More action. Yeah, you see now it. So then we can So if you want to watch in-depth videos, so with every explanation, the tools, the techniques, and want to see 4 to 5 videos each month about drawing techniques, paper, tools, you can join my Patreon channel. It's now online since one month. And there you can ask any questions and make suggestions for topics for upcoming videos. So I'm very open-minded to your opinion at this new channel of myself. What I want to show you is here, when you add here an ink line, and when it's not dry you can use this for shading. So it looks very harsh now. So we will lift up a little bit. So okay. Okay, and then I think I have to darken a little bit, it's too bright here as well. Let's do some here from the ground so that we have more shadows here. That ground. Yep. So now this gets more depth, deeper and deeper shadows. And I think it's quite nice, this negative space, this white parts, and then coming here where all this action and the focus point is. Yeah, it was a little bit too less contrast, but now it's okay. Yeah, so let's say it's finished for now, because often when I'm looking at older drawings, sketchings, I'm always, I think I should do this or that with them, doing experiments at these older sheets of paper in every size, like the smaller ones. These are good practicing, so you don't lose money on the paper when it goes wrong. Like here, this is on the same paper, yes. Yes, that's the paper. And here I did it absolutely the wrong way. You see, very uneven, doesn't look in any direction, it is not good, it's not expressive, it's not an even, nice background. This will the first try with some liquid watercolor. It's quite okay, I tested it here on this hot press paper. On cold press it's great, but on this hot pressed paper I couldn't work it, it doesn't work for me. But it works, this paper, with, of course, watercolor and also with diluted ink for the flex. You can dilute ink with water and add it to the drawing, and of course using waterproof ink. So that's for now. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. See you next time. Bye.